Naval Ravikant will share one of his biggest insights in life, 2 traps to avoid, and one of the most impactful things that helped me to avoid these mistakes. I'm Jordan, I've made over $5 million, hired 50 people, and here's the first trap you may avoid.
At the end of the day, it's about the ideas. You have to take each idea, you have to evaluate it on its own merits, and then if you can, you have to absorb it into your framework of thinking until the next better idea comes along. And if you can't figure it out, then you should reject it. The mistake would be to memorize it.
The mistake would be to memorize. I do see truth in that, but at the same time, isn't everything a memory? Like, aren't we built up out of memories? And that we just so think that some memories are more true than others. Now, what I think Naval's pointing at here is likely one of his own mistakes, and one which we all learn to do in school, which is to actively memorize information, like in history class, and that we are still conditioned to believe that memorizing good knowledge is a practical way to learn, and that Naval is saying that not memorizing, but figuring out the new information is effective. Like all the new ideas and information that comes to you daily on social media, but also like the insights in this video, that figuring out for yourself if something is true or not, that will likely decrease untruth inside of you. Which brings me to another trap in life.
I think you have to remove the person from the theories.
Remove the person from the theories. Now here's what he means with that.
I think it's a mistake to apply it dogmatically, or to say, oh, I believe that because, David Deutsch said so, or because it's part of critical rationalism, or even to ask, like, what does David think about this? I think that is a mistake.
Now, I assume you like listening to Naval because you believe that he speaks truth. Perhaps even more so, that his intention is to find truth. And then the mistake would be to listen to Naval with less of a filter for truth. Because subconsciously you think, oh, well, Naval cares about truth, often speaks truth, so I believe what he says next to be true. Now, if that sounds true, then you may think, well, Jordan, how can I avoid this then? Well, I think there are 2 things. The second one is by far more important. But here's the first one that I personally found to be effective. But disclaimer, I'm not saying you should be doing this. Alright, I just wanted to say that. But I have found this to be effective, which is speaking my thoughts out loud, like to the voice memo recorder app on my phone, so people don't think I'm crazy. And then you can actually hear the crap your mind is producing sometimes. And when you hear yourself saying things that don't seem to be true, you're basically shedding yourself of untruth. Like when you always thought that Santa Claus was real until you heard he was not. So let's say if every year back then you were on the naughty list, you now don't feel the stress anymore of not receiving presents. At the same time, you also don't feel the same level of excitement anymore because you have seen through the lie. Which brings me to the question, why should one even care about seeing through lies, finding the truth? Now, to give you a very personal example, 2 weeks ago, I felt this anger inside of me. After I fired one of my employees who then became extremely unhelpful. Now, obviously, I wanted to get rid of this anger inside of me. So I was walking outside, talking out loud to my phone, trying to find the root of the emotion, which after voicing my thoughts out loud for an hour or so, I found many insights and the real cause of my frustration, which by the way was me wanting her to understand my perception of reality. Now, I only found this out after the thought came, what if she messaged me right now and said, Jordan, you're right. Now, when I heard that thought, when I was talking to myself, I knew that if she were to say that my anger would be gone. So I found this hearing your own thoughts out loud to be very effective. Now, if you want to know more practical insights like this, I write about them and other truths that I find in my weekly 2-minute email that you receive if you download this free Google Sheet with over 80 free tools that I use in my business and personal life, all unsponsored and unaffiliated, and again, completely free. But this brings me to the second, more important part, which is the desire to find the truth, or to be more precise with my words, the why behind the what you do. Here's what I mean. So if you care about self-improvement and now see this walk and talk thing as a new tool in your bucket of tools to improve yourself, whatever that means, then I don't think that is a strong enough reason to do what is required to find the truth. Or as Naval likes to say,
there are things that have a greater truth composition than others. You just have to get away from this binary thinking of true and false. So there are things that are more true and there are things that are less true.
Which leads me to the question, how do you actually know what is true? Or more precisely, how can you increase the density of truth inside of you? How do you make your next thoughts be closer to the truth? Well, Naval shares his 4 ways in this video. Talk soon.